Picture this. It was a bitter cold November day, and by 6 a.m., the rain had just started to fall. There's nothing I wanted to do more than to roll over and go back to bed, but I had made a commitment to meet up with a friend. The decision to get up and honor my commitment would greatly alter my success. If I didn't get up that morning, I would miss a wonderful opportunity. So let me ask all of you, what would you have done in that situation? I'd like to talk to you today about networking your way to a successful legacy. With the current 100th anniversary happening here at Bentley, I've spent more time thinking about my legacy than ever before. In the 4 years that I was here as a student, I never once thought about what I wanted my legacy to be like on campus or with my peers at work or with my family and friends. Who knew that 25 years later, I'd be an executive in the private jet business, working with celebrities and professional athletes like this big guy up above? Well, the things that come to my mind when I think about legacy and what it really means are the following. What will you hand down from the past? Is it an inheritance? If so, is it an ethical one, a financial one, or maybe a moral one, or all of the above? Will you strive for extraordinary performance in everything that you do, whether as a friend, a roommate, a teacher, a coach, or maybe a parent? Have you thought about what you want your reputation to be like 5, 10, 15 years from now? And most importantly, can you realize your failures and how you will learn from them? Are you able to change and still succeed? I'm going to switch gears for a few minutes, but I'll come back to legacy a little bit later. Now I'd like to discuss networking and what exactly I think it should mean to you. Networking to me is an art. It's an art that takes time, energy, and effort. I like to think of it as an art of making deposits, taking withdrawals, and then reaping the dividends. By making deposits today, you'll learn the right to ask for that favor or withdrawal. Trust me, it'll come so much easier if you do it this way. It took me years to develop this skill set, and little did I know that at a very early age, I started to learn about it. Growing up in upstate New York, I was an avid youth hockey player, my father an avid hockey fan, my coach for most of my youth. And some of my favorite memories were thinking about the times my family and I spent driving around the Northeast and Canada for youth hockey games. From 6 to 14 years old, all winter long, we'd be on the road. And usually after our games, we'd end up at some random diner. In my town in New York, it happened to be Friendly's. We'd be there with all the other parents, and the players would go sit at one end of the table and the restaurant, and the parents would try to get as far away from us and sit at the other end of the restaurant at another table. And I'd often listen to my father discuss business and politics, and most often why we either won or lost that last game. But even at an early age, I remember my father always listening and asking questions, and then listening before offering his opinion. For the record, this all changed when he hit his golden years. Sorry, Dad. But the relationships my dad built back then turned out to be lifelong friends. And they turned out to be friends that eventually would help my sister and I get jobs. Today, my family and I, and my sister, were so proud of the fact that my father made years of deposits so that his children and grandchildren could reap the dividends. So let me ask all of you, have you been making deposits, or have they all been attempts at withdrawals? Okay, so what does this really mean? Well, 25 years ago, I came to Bentley, played some hockey and lacrosse, I joined a fraternity, and to my surprise, I was asked to represent my class at graduation and be the baccalaureate speaker. Trust me, after attending a military school for 4 years and coming to college, I really enjoyed my experience here. And looking back now, I didn't realize how structured my life was back then. March in this parade, wear this uniform, shine these shoes, play these sports, and by all means, never break the honor code. Well, when I departed military school for college, it was the first time in my life that I was able to start making deposits and not having to always fall in line. Networking those first few years was really social networking, and I don't mean Facebook. I didn't realize that the relationships that I had with my roommates and my coaches and my teachers would ultimately help shape my successful legacy. Your legacy isn't part of a strict curriculum that somebody else controls. It's something that you determine by the choices you make and the actions that you take. Everyone, take a quick second here and look to your left and to your right, and if the person next to you is your roommate or a teammate, can you honestly say that you spent the time to get to know them? Have you asked questions about maybe what their mother or father does for a living? Have you ever met your professors outside of your classes and learned about their successful paths and how they got here? Have you ever asked them if there's anything you can do to help contribute in a class? Again, this common theme of deposits first. During my time here at Bentley, I always felt I was a great friend and a good roommate. One of my roommates, Nick, he's the sheriff up there, and I'm sure he's going to be watching this at some point. Let's just say he often found himself in sticky situations. And while helping him get out of some of those sticky situations, we had a lot of great conversations. He always talked about his mother and his father. He was always so proud of the success that his father had at his investment firm in New Jersey. Well, after graduation, I decided to go down and visit Nick and his father, and they rolled out the red carpet for me. I felt like I was in a really good position to ask for an interview. I'm sure that Nick would have done anything to help me get that interview. Well, even though this wasn't the path that I chose, I can say honestly that the years that followed, I often went down to visit Nick and his dad. All right, so what I want to talk about next is how everything today is about streaming your life online. Everything's out there for the world to see. Please note that the secrets that Nick and I share, they can't be replicated on Facebook or Instagram. They came from those real face-to-face meetings. Today, Nick's one of my clients. He's helped me mentor some students here at Bentley. He always makes an extra effort to come visit me when he's up here in Boston. He's referred people to me, and most importantly, he has mastered the art of networking himself. So let me be clear. I'm not saying that you should be the friend that's picking up the tab every Thursday night. All I'm saying is consider working on your networking skills now. Making the extra effort today and giving the extra effort after college can prove to be the most fruitful times for laying the foundation for your legacy. Whether in business or in life, taking a general interest in building and maintaining relationships will make you successful in many different ways. Who knows, maybe you'll find a job, your next deal, or even a spouse. See, it may feel like you're maintaining some of your relationships simply because you're liking someone's picture. However, trust me, they'll never be as deep as the ones you could be building by picking up the phone or going on a face-to-face visit. 12 years ago, I reconnected with a Bentley friend while dropping my daughter off at preschool. Joe was 2 years ahead of me and in an opposing fraternity, a great athlete, and clearly the most popular guy on campus. I knew right away that I wanted to reconnect with Joe, and weeks later, we found ourselves in the car driving to a Celtics game. Maybe it was Joe's front row seats for the Celtics or my personal interest in having him as a new client, but regardless, I wanted to cultivate this relationship. I'm always intrigued to hear people's success stories, and Joe's was no different. He was a master networker himself, and Joe had expanded his family's car empire up into Massachusetts, all while working on a technology company and still devoting many hours back here to Bentley. And like usual, I asked Joe, how can I help? Where can I get involved? Right? Deposits first. Joe sponsored me back here at Bentley at the Bentley Executive Club, which actually led me to reconnect with one of my favorite professors from undergraduate and graduate school. You can see him up there. That's Joe in the blue, and Woody you already heard speak today, and the handsome guy in the snazzy sweater vest is my very dear friend, Perry Lowe. Perry was attending one of those Bentley Executive Club meetings, and when we ran into each other, I was so excited to see him. Not only was I shocked to see him, but he immediately remembered me, and he started asking me questions about my life. When I told him what I did in the private jet business, he suggested that I come back to Bentley and be a corporate sponsor in his upcoming corporate immersion class. This quickly turned into me becoming a routine guest lecturer on campus, and then an adjunct professor, and most recently an executive in residence for the school. I mention this story because I think it clearly shows you the power of networking and how it's shaping my legacy. One of the things that I enjoy most is giving back. Last year, I heard Bentley was looking for some faculty advisors for some of the athletic teams. Well, being only a part-time lecturer, I wasn't even sure if I could apply. And of course, my initial thoughts were I would work with men's lacrosse or men's hockey team. Well, fortunately for me, I was assigned to the women's field hockey team. And outside of my oldest daughter playing some high school field hockey, I really didn't know much about the sport. I did know that I was excited to offer my help in any way possible. So I reached out to the coach, and I kindly invited myself to their next team meeting. And when I was there, Jessica, the coach, gave me the floor. And to be honest, I'm not really sure what the players thought of me. I offered my time to help review resumes, discuss corporate America, or maybe answer any questions they generally had. Surprisingly, fewer of the players reached out to me than I anticipated. Well, months passed, and with the off-season upon us and winter approaching, I thought I would try one more time. And this time, I called the coach and offered an internship working for me in my office. Morgan, a sophomore here on campus, and coincidentally from my hometown, had immediately reached out to me. And what impressed me the most was that she asked to meet with me in order to get to know me a little bit better. This was very proactive on her part and very refreshing for me to see. In just a few months of working together, I've seen Morgan's confidence grow. She should be applauded for making the extra effort and routinely pushing herself outside of her own comfort zone. She's learned many new skills, and it's really nice to bring her on sales calls and see her shine and contribute. I know that Morgan and I are going to have a very long and prosperous relationship, and who knows, maybe Morgan will start making deposits. She could even end up mentoring one of my 3 daughters someday. Look, I can tell many stories about success from networking, but let's get back to that cold, rainy November morning. Through a series of networking meetings, I was asked to play golf with a friend that I didn't really know all that well. Truth be told, I really didn't want to get out of bed that morning, and I was one text message and a good excuse away from not showing up. We all know it can be difficult at times to make the extra effort, and I was no exception. Well, when I arrived at the course, my friend was there standing next to his neighbor. They looked about as excited as I did to go out and play golf in the rain. And when we got out there, I did what I normally do, which is I really didn't discuss business. I just spent the time asking questions and listening and waiting till after the round. Well, sure enough, weeks later, my friend's neighbor reached out to me, and as one of the most successful private equity guys in Boston, he asked me if I could help fly the CEO of one of his companies. That company turned out to be my largest client, and they still fly with me today. What message would I have sent to my family and my legacy if I didn't show up for that round of golf? Always, always honor your commitments. Can you imagine if I didn't get up that day and I took the easy way out and came up with some excuse saying I couldn't be there? All right, finally, let's get back to your legacy. I want you to ask yourself, do you know what people think of you? Have you made any differences in your life? What morals and values and ideals can you pass down to the next generation? Have you had any specific interactions that you've created that are going to leave a lasting impact? For the students in the room, now's your time. Reach out to your professors. Reach out to your friends, your teammates. Ask if you can get involved and how you can help out. For everybody else here listening and those watching online, it's never too late to start networking. Remember, by making deposits today before asking for withdrawals tomorrow will lead to paid dividends in your future. Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.